your indulgence, 94, subject to the provisions of this Act. As at 14th March 2017, my search revealed that you were not a citizen of Ghana as at 14th March, and therefore you owed allegiance to another state. Is that the case?
Mr. Chairman, that is not the case. As of 14th March, I was a citizen of Ghana.
Of Ghana.
Mr. Chairman, not anymore.
Not anymore. Since when did you renounce any citizenship that you probably may be holding? My search reveals that you are a citizen of the United States of America and not Ghana. Is that the case?
Mr. Chairman, I've held dual citizenship since it was first allowed under the Kufuor government. And as of last year, December, I started the process to relinquish or renounce my American citizenship. The process entailed 3 counseling sessions with the head of citizen services at the American Embassy, which I've been through. And it culminated in my taking an oath of renunciation, which I did, and I surrendered my passport at that ceremony. So I can say categorically that I'm no longer a citizen of the United States. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Note that the nominee assures this committee that he is engaged and has taken steps to renounce his citizenship. So we would want that tendered in
well, for the record, I do have it. I have evidence of the process. Yes. So,
Chairman, can you read what you have?
What he has is a Department of State, United States of America.
I'm interested in the date.
Certificate of Loss of Citizenship pronunciation. Yeah. So,
date, Chairman. Because
Chairman, we have the evidence. We'll consider it at the close of nominations, at the close of vetting, as we do all the time.
Oh, Chairman, I've already gone public and I quoted 14th March, and it doesn't harm or hurt you. The
date of this is 20th March 2017.
Okay. It's noted. What will you do to assist the minister to improve debt management?
Mr. Chairman, I serve at the bequest of the minister. I don't know what my mandate would be if I'm given a nod by the committee and I join the ministry. So as of now, it will be very hard for me to be able to answer that question because I'm not in the ministry at the moment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Congratulations. You indicated in your CV that you are a CEO of Black Star Advisors and then Primus Properties. Why do you leave such a big position to hold the position of deputy minister?
I thought carefully about it, and I think that when His Excellency called me and offered me the position, I felt that it was time for me to do my national service and to step up and help contribute to this country. I'm hoping that by doing so, it might encourage a lot more people in the private sector to also come on board so that we can all help to move this country forward. Thank you.
My next one has to do with what you think you want to add or bring on board to that ministry.
Mr. Chairman, I have over 18 years of experience in the finance industry, fundraising, attracting investments into Ghana. Through my 2 companies, I think we've seen over $30 million of investment into Ghana, both in real estate and in other activities, asset management as well. So I think I can, and understanding of the capital markets. So based on what my minister would like me to do, I believe I could add value along various areas of finance at the ministry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
My last question is that Ghana, we spend so much printing new currency just because the market women don't handle our currency very well. What? Do you have any idea as to what to do so that at least our currency will be protected?
I guess the reason why our currency, we use a lot of currency is because of the extent of the informal sector. So most people don't use banks and cards, and they use cash, and the cash, changes hands a lot, so it gets, worn out. I think one solution might be mobile money. As of now, there are about 8 million mobile money accounts, and I think there are under 2 million checking accounts. So if mobile money can be used more as a platform and a medium of exchange for people to use to buy goods and services, it might eliminate the need for cash. And most market women I know, almost everybody I know has a mobile phone. So just using that would really reduce the need and use of cash. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, just a follow-up to the Honorable Judge. What will you do to regulate the mobile money regime in the country and use it to mobilize the outstanding huge population of the country that is unbanked?
Mr. Chairman, I think that mobile money can really be used to bring into the formal sector the unbanked population. But to do that, it needs to be regulated. And to be regulated, users of mobile money need to be KYC, meaning you need to have to be able to do a know your customer analysis on them. And for that to happen, they need to have IDs. So I think that the fundamental issue is to get our ID system sorted out. Once we have an ID system and everybody can be ID'd and has an address, then you can now use your mobile money as a savings instrument where, it becomes part of the formal banking sector, and you can all be offered credit products along that. So I think the way you formalize the mobile money economy is to get IDs so people can be properly identified and KYC can be done on them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Congratulations, Mr. Charles Adu Boahen.
Thank you, sir.
I think the legal issue is being resolved by the steps that you have taken to renounce your allegiance to the United States of America so that you can be eligible to be a deputy minister. What I don't know in law, and this is not a question for you, this is just drawing attention. What I don't know in law is whether the illegality also affects the president in terms of when he made the appointment, whether a president can appoint a person who is who owes allegiance to another country. He has nominated, whether he can even nominate a person who owes allegiance to another country. Be that as it may, you have taken the steps, and I hope that by the time he will be swearing you in, you would have completed the steps. What we see is a receipt for payments that you have made pursuant to the process. I don't see it as certifying that the process is completed. So it will be helpful if, yes, so you pay for a certificate until the certificate is actually issued to you. you don't have a certificate. You have evidence of having paid for a certificate. So I don't intend to stand in the way of any young man being appointed. I just want to draw attention. I just want to draw attention to that the process, the appointing authority should always do some background to be sure and not give this committee any problems. Now, my main question is, very often when there are problems, we look at the finance ministry because the problems manifest themselves as financial problems, but they are more of problems of economic development, production taking place. If production is not taking place, you are not going to be able to make money. And the ministry has used to be called finance and economic planning, so that you could plan for production and finance it. Now it is just finance. So do you think that this arrangement really enables the Ministry of Finance to respond to the actual needs of proper planning for economic development so that you can make money from production to be able to distribute? What is your view about the current architecture of the Ministry of Finance?
Mr. Chairman, to be honest with you, I haven't really thought about this. But if I may, based on my experience in the private sector, it is my understanding that the real sector should be the ministries that control the factors of production. So we should look to ministries like the Agricultural Ministry and maybe the Energy Ministry for them to drive production through the implementation of policies and initiatives that provide an enabling environment for that to happen. And then the Ministry of Finance sits back and provides the financial wherewithal to ensure that the real sector ministries are able to implement their strategies. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Asking follow-up questions. So I'll go to my second substantive question, which is looking at the debt management strategy that has been announced in this recent budget, and listening to the minister, and then I think the earlier nominee we vetted, your colleague deputy minister nominee. Do you think that the debt management strategy that have been announced will actually solve the problems of the debt levels of Ghana? And if no, what other additional ideas in terms of debt management will you, given your experience in the financial sector, bring to bear in the way that Ghana manages her debt?
Right now, it's very hard for me to provide an informed opinion on some of these issues because I'm on the outside looking in. If the committee is gracious enough to give me the nod and I join the minister within the Ministry of Finance, I'm sure once I have a better understanding of all the dynamics that are at play here, I'll be able to give you a much more informed answer. Having said that, I think that there's nothing wrong with debt. I think it's more about the levels and the cost. And I think that we see our interest payments eating up a lot more and more of our revenue because we borrow at quite expensively compared to some other countries. I just read that Argentina borrowed, I think they raised over 10 billion in the capital markets, and the interest rate was under 7%. And they are the same credit rating as us, a B-. We are raising our debt at 10%, 9.5%. And why is that the case? I mean, if we're rated the same way, then why this 3% difference in our financing costs? So maybe we are not marketing ourselves well. Maybe there's a risk premium attached to us because we are in Africa and they are in...
Chairman, sorry. So what will you do to market as well so that our risk level comes down?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think that we need to be a little more open and be out there doing presentations to investors and what they call roadshows so that we, the international committee is more aware of some of the things we are doing here and better understand the country and our policies. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I've produced your CV, and I can, let me say that it's very rich, and I'm proud. With your experience with Wall Street, I believe that you can offer a lot to us. How are you going to advise or help your minister develop the secondary market? That's the first thing. And then link it with how you would encourage particular securitization, more particularly with mortgage-backed securities, to enable us solve these our perennial housing difficulties that we face. I want you to link those three so that and see how you will help us with that knowledge from Wall Street. The Americans have done it, so that we can also do the same. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think the key here is the ability to monetize or create liquidity in the real estate market. This country, we have a lot of real estate, but it's all tied up capital. The difference between our country and what happens in the States or even in South Africa is that they have what you call REITs, real estate investment trusts, which are listed vehicles, whereby a group buys up a lot of real estate assets and they put them into a vehicle and they list the vehicle, and people buy shares and they're paid, the shares, the dividend paid on the shares is from the rental income generated from this pool of assets. And what happens when that happens is that you buy these real estate assets from the developers, list them on the market, pay dividends so shareholders earn a regular income. But also, more importantly, the developer receives a significant amount of cash up front. So then he can go ahead and then do more real estate projects, which then also get sold and so forth and so on. And that is a very good way to create some liquidity in the market to encourage the continuous investment in real estate and expansion of the market. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, so will you push for the law? The reason South Africa succeeded in Bangladesh is because of the law. Will you push for the securitization law as one of the promoters in Parliament? Because if the finance ministry decides that we're going to have a securitization law, so that we can have these special vehicles and create them, we can create thousands, hundreds of them, can create a lot of them, so that...
Chairman, if our colleague want to the name of the law...
I said securitization, that's what I said.
Securitization,
yeah,
okay.
Securitization, that's what I was saying. So that you can, will you encourage it so that at least as one of your achievements, you can encourage it and get it, so that we can try it. Will you consider that?
Minister, you know that when cabinet meets, he won't be there. So probably you seek ideas from him and push it. And if you have other questions, I'll allow it. But I'm betting him with this one.
Again, congratulations. Earlier, we vetted one of the deputy ministers, and the issue of EPOS, that's the point of sale devices, came up. There seemed to be this duty on it that makes it prohibitive for banks to deploy. For example, I do know a bank that bought about, a quantity at about $30,000. That's about 150,000 Ghana cedis. But they paid duty of almost 200,000 Ghana cedis on these, machines. So if we are preaching the need for us to make our economy a cashless economy, and there is said to be support for banks to deploy these machines, why do we make it prohibitive for the banks to use them? And what will you do with your minister to ensure that the duty on these machines are revised?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Coming from the private sector, there are a lot of new terms and new things that I'm beginning to learn about and meet for the first time. I believe that if I am given the nod and I join the ministry, I'll take my time to really understand some of these policies and these initiatives and why some things why there's duty on some items and not on others, and what the rationale behind that is. So for now, there's not much I can say about that, Mr. Chairman.
All right. The tree that you are going to is very demanding, I'm told, by those who have worked there. It requires a lot of, attention and cool heads to be able to deal with the myriad of problems that come there every day. Now, what will you say about your temperament and your ability to work under pressure and in a very provocative environment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think there's any more pressure-filled environment than Wall Street. When I was at Wall Street, I cannot count the number of times I had to work throughout the night. 24 hours, as they called it, pulling an all-nighter was a regular occurrence, and the pressure was enormous. So I think I'm very well prepared for any challenges that the ministry will provide. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Minister nominee, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Back to our debts. Considering the volume at which Ghana has to pay to service our debts, in relating to the tax cuts, how are you going to assist your minister, at least for us to create a spending space as a country, to be able to help deliver the MPP manifesto that is promised by His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One thing I remember that always sticks with me about the MPP manifesto was that we intend to move the economy from one of taxation to one of production, meaning that we believe that by increasing production, income levels will go up. So even though we might reduce the tax rate, we'll still generate a lot more taxes because the income levels will go up. So I think that we shouldn't look at the tax cuts in isolation. I think we should figure out the impact it would have on production and how that will increase production, thereby increasing the amount of income that can be taxed, which thereby increases the tax revenue. And that is my opinion from the outside looking in. If I'm given a nod by this committee, I'm sure I'll be able to confirm if my analysis is correct once I'm in the ministry and be able to provide some further counsel on the matter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Congratulations once again,
Thank you,
Mr.
Chairman.
Adu Boahen. Who was the first finance minister of independent Ghana?
Is it because his grandfather was a historian? Okay. The father was a respected historian.
Mr. Chairman, this question reminded me of Best Brain when we were kids. I believe it was Bedema.
Yeah, correct for 100 marks.
100%.
Komla Agbelik Bedema. I asked that because he's a celebrated historian, Professor Emeritus, and in reading up on you, I found out that you inherited. I saw an interesting component of his will, where you inherited his manuscripts at the BAM Library and the History Department. So you have a lot of history material to read. Is that accurate?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We actually, my siblings and I, donated all the material and the intellectual property we inherited to the History Department at the University of Ghana. We believe that that is the best place for it to be. So the History Department has graciously agreed to set up a reference library, which will be open to all, so that we can all share in the material that he accumulated over his long tenure as in the History Department.
Okay, and I hope all the other related matters are sorted out, but we'll have that discussion later. I don't want to set in chapters. Too much research sometimes doesn't help. My substantive question has to do with, and it's only one question, I have only one question. You have an impressive CV as an investment banker and a fundraiser, a good fund manager as well. I hold in my hands here the 2017 weights for earmarked funds, which came to Parliament with the memorandum on the earmarking and capping of statutory funds bill. And I'm sure that your colleagues, investment bankers and fund managers and fundraisers will not be impressed with you if you are going to have this legacy. You are clearly struggling to raise funds as a ministry. And so what you have decided to do is to cut the IGF, the earmarks, to about 125 institutions and agencies, including the National Commission on Culture, Abibi Groma Theatre Company, Ghana Dance Ensemble, National Theatre, Kolebu, Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Tamale Teaching Hospital, and on and on. You know our position as a minority, that this is quite heartless and that we should have left out some of these institutions who are already reeling and struggling to even sometimes pay their bills, their light bills, like the Cardio Center, National Blood Bank, and all of that. Now, you're an investment banker, fundraiser. How do you intend to assist the minister? New ideas, new innovative tools and mechanisms to raise funds and free our institutions and stop this onslaught, this attack on IGFs?
First and foremost, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first time I ever heard of earmarking or capping was in December of 2016. And that was at the transition team meeting, which was, and it was a presentation by the Honorable Minister at the time, Seth Tekpe. And his presentation was about the fact that earmarking provides rigidities and restricts the minister from being able to execute his mandate because there's very limited space. So that was my first introduction to this whole earmarking situation. And so I believe that the current budget tries to create a little more flexibility by capping some of these earmarking funds. I think that we still can. I don't think when it comes to raising money and trying to free up space, there are any really new ideas. I think it's all about trying to expand the tax net. You know, I think this example I gave about the mobile money accounts being 8 million, whereas you have only less than 2 million in checking accounts. I checked with my friends in the mobile money space, and apparently the cash value of transactions for mobile money accounts was 74 billion last year, which seems like a huge amount. So I believe that we are really missing out on a lot of revenue collection because we haven't really expanded the tax net to bring more people into the formal economy so they can pay their fair share of taxes, which would then help increase our revenue base, which means that we'll have to borrow less and be able to leave the cultural troop you referred to be able to buy some more drums. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.